Welcome again to the 7-spot live chat area here at the Newark Kit Car Festival 2023. And wandering around the show, I have come across somebody who a lot of you will know, and hopefully a lot of you out there are probably driving one of his designs. And that is Stuart Mills of MEV. Stuart, welcome. It's a great pleasure to have you here.
It's a pleasure.
What I thought we would do is, because it's interesting, before we were on camera, you said, there's a few others that I've forgotten about, cars that you've done. But try and run through your back catalogue of cars.
Well, I think there was about 25 in total.
Okay, well, we can try and...
Yeah, it'd be difficult to run through the whole lot, because I can't even remember them all, if I'm honest, I think. I did start, I think the first kit car I did was a 4x4 called a MEV Trek.
Yeah.
And that was an unusual concept. It was a Range Rover, but it was in reverse. We'd actually finished up with the engine instead of at the front. It was in the back. We flipped the axles over to achieve that. And it became a short wheelbase, short front and rear overhangs. Wading depth was great because we had gull-wing doors, so the wading depth's a lot higher than the Range Rover. It didn't sell. We sold a few, and there's still two in competition in, I think, the Netherlands now. So it's nice to see them still being used. But yeah, not a concept that was, I think the shape, it's easy to criticise it when you finished it. It was too rounded. It was more of a jelly mold shape. It needed to be more aggressive in order to be a proper mud plugger, I think.
Okay, so that was your first sort of toe that you dipped into the kit car market. And then was it the Rocket that you went to next?
I think it probably was, yeah. The Ford Focus appealed to me as a donor. They were cheap, plentiful, and tunable. So we finished up again. Similar thing, actually, taking that transverse engine and transferring it to the back to make a mid-engine car.
And your inspiration for that was very much the start of the gestation of these exoskeletal, I'm glad I said that, because I didn't think I was going to get around it, kit cars and sports cars that were around at the time. Was that sort of your inspiration then?
Yeah, I mean, everybody refers to the Aerial Atom, which was, of course, what's seen as the first exoskeletal car, but actually it wasn't at all. If you go back in time to the turn of the century, there was exoskeletal cars then. Some even had fiberglass or vinyl wrap on them and using the exoskeletal frame just to support a flexible cover. In fact, my inspiration came when I went down to see my daughter in London. As you get down just towards the end of the M1, there's this thing that they call the magic eye or something, and there's these curved tubes. And I was just thinking, at the time, I think in the back of my mind, I was working on the next day's project, which is when I bought some rollers to experiment with the curved tubes.
Okay.
And it's not as easy as you look at it and you think, it's just a curve. But actually, are these transparent? Does the curve actually twist along its length, or is it just a flat curve that's then laid in the upright position? So there's a lot you can do. And I found, it doesn't matter how much drawing or planning you do, the best thing to do is get a length of steel, set it upon a bench, play about with it, sit in it, sit on a box, sit there with a steering wheel, get the feel for it. And that's how the Rocket came about, actually. Very low-tech approach.
Which is interesting when we're in this modern world of so much CAD design and ergonomics and that, is you just sat in amongst...
Yeah, I'm pretty old school the way I approach things. Yeah, I mean, to get symmetry, I'd make a profile template for one side and transfer it to the other side, flip it. So that would make it symmetrical. Or you could spend a fortune getting the goalpost with the scanner and everything, but that's not why it's too slow for me. And you can spend that much time programming. Actually, I'd much sooner be out there with the tools getting on with it.
So you can actually sort of touch it and feel it and understand it better. Yeah.
And if you get it wrong, hit it with a hammer. Start again. It's not cost the earth. We only used to use flex ply, which is very flexible plywood with all the grain going in one direction, or gelatol, which is a lovely timber. You can shave it with a knife. It's actually a hardwood, but it's almost like balsa wood, really, gelatol. Okay. Yeah, great material if anyone wants to have a go at making something.
And just to interject there, you did do a book on how to build your own kit car, didn't you? Or
Performance Publishing still sell that one, via Complete Kit Car.
Well, what we'll do, we'll put for anyone interested, we'll put a link below the video if you want to follow that up and see if you can get a copy. So we're 2 into potentially 25. Next up, the one that's in my head is Sonic. 7 was that the next one, or was
Yeah, the
anything?
Sonic was a very similar concept to the Rocket, but a completely different chassis. And I wanted to make it enclosed. I wanted to make it streamlined, modern, chiseled design, if you like. I think it worked very well. And that did selling in good quantities. And I believe it's still selling now.
And that underneath was very similar in structure, not in the tube, because it used a square tube, didn't it, compared to the round tube of the Rocket. But it was still focus-based rear engines.
Yeah, I think the problem is with the tubular frames, once you start introducing curves, it's a problem jigging to get the accuracy you need and the detail and the neatness of the welding. Much easier with square straight tubes. So that's why the Sonic shape created those nice curves, but the actual chassis was fairly basic in form internally.
Okay, so we're at the Sonic 7. I'm trying to think where I want to pluck one out of the air, and I know I'm going to get it wrong. Are we getting in?
There was one, where I was commissioned for a bike engine, single-seater. And the commission, the idea was to create a car that's perfectly balanced. So with a driver in, and you'd have 25% of the weight on each wheel.
Okay.
So the way we achieved that was to create a very small car. It was like a go-kart. We called it Atomic. The bike engine, I can't remember what bike engine it was now, a Blade or a whatever, Hayabusa, I can't remember. And that was sat where the passenger would normally sit. So you've got that perfect balance.
I remember that, yes. Yeah.
It was a great car. We had a direct shaft drive from the engine, had a couple of made where the sprocket normally comes off the engine for the bike chain, an adapter made to drive a prop shaft to the diff at the back. I needed a diff of about a 4-to-1 ratio. Went to a scrap yard in Rochdale or somewhere where this guy had got this diff. I think it was off a Freelander or something. While I was there, I noticed an MX-5 turned over. Couldn't help looking at the underside, and I thought, there's a diff. Wrong ratio. Nevertheless, I saw these double wishbones and coilover shocks and discs all round. This power plant frame down the middle on these two subframes. I went away. Some months later, when I'd finished the Atomic project, the next project became the Exocet, which was actually born by looking for a diff for the Atomic. So instead of finding a diff, I found the whole donor car. The MX-5 is a fantastic donor, really is.
And I think, I can't remember what year that was, but you were one of the first to pick on that as a donor car, which is now, let's be honest, really popular.
Yeah, I don't think anyone had used the MX-5 at the time. It just seemed the perfect donor for me, and I found it accidentally. It was not an obvious choice.
Well, you go looking for one thing, and you're handed the basis for your next.
That's right. Yeah. Keep the blinkers off, and away we go. Yeah.
And somewhere in there was the trike, the R1 engine trike, wasn't there?
Yeah, there was that. I didn't like that, if I'm honest. I only made one of those.
Okay.
My problem with it when I was testing the prototype was obvious thing really. 2-seater side by side. If you haven't got a passenger in, you can lift a wheel when you do a left turn quite easily.
Good point. I hadn't thought about it.
You kind of lured into this sense of false security because you take a right turn, push it quite hard, maybe get a bit of drift on the back wheel, not got any lift at all, very stable. Go the other way, whoops. It very easily sat itself back down actually, and I only managed to tip it at low speeds, surprisingly. Somehow the momentum made it more stable at higher speeds, but it wasn't for me.
So from the trike, where would we go next? Are we going to the Mevster, which was like the full body?
Yeah, that was a concept which I thought would be a great offering for someone who wants a 7, only perhaps a more modern take on it, with a windscreen, with a roof, and that's basically full-bodied, using the MX-5 running gear again, which seemed to be the obvious way to go. And again, square tube chassis so that it was easier to fabricate.
So we're clocking through them. I'm trying to think where guide me a little bit here, because I think we're going to.
There was lots of others, yeah, because I did concept work as well for a firm in the Czech Republic, a firm in China where we did electric vehicle development and that sort of thing. So all of the vehicles that go under the MEV banner are about 25 or something. If you look at all the various names, a lot of them we had Warheads as the name as a constant throughout the Rocket, Atomic, Sonic, Exocet. that kind of work. Missile was one of them, actually.
What was the bit? I don't remember the missile.
No, I don't either. It was just reminded me that there was, I think that was an electric sports car, actually, thinking about it. Oh, in fact, we did sell a few of those. In fact, they've got one at Nottingham College. They use it for promoting to get people to join their college.
Okay. And of course, the other one, I saw you chatting with Rob from Quantum, because he's now got it, is the replica.
Replica, he calls it the LMP or something.
LMR 141, I think.
Oh, well done, thank you. Yeah, that's a great car. Beautiful body. That was based on the style of the Aston Martin DBR1 that Sterling Moss drove to victory in many races back in 1950s or something. Always loved that car. You can't buy one there in millions of pounds, so I basically used the MX-5 running gear and a modified Mevster chassis to create a pattern that fitted. Of course, it's slightly difficult because in the original straight six car, the engine was planted much further back with the transaxle behind. In the MX-5 version, the four-pot shoved much further forward.
You've got to get the gearbox in as well.
Yeah. You got to create that package, so that made the nose slightly more bulbous. But nevertheless, it's a great looking car, and I'm pleased to see it's still selling well with it.
It is. He took it over with orders. What do you think of his little tweaks that he's done to the body?
I think it's good. I think he's tweaked it enough to keep the originality, but by making it narrower, it looks longer when actually it's shorter. It's a very clever trick on the eye, that. He's done a great job.
He has, and he showed me some of the areas where he's taken dimensions out, because when you step back, yes, they do look different, but it is interesting how much he's taken out of different areas of that car. So,
yeah.
So
the other one was a Mevster, you know, not the Mevster. What did we call it now? There was a bike engine. We did the trike, and then we did a four-wheeled version of the trike. Absolutely brilliant. A Hayabusa engine in it. I think it was called a Mevabusa.
Yes, man, I remember.
From what I remember, there's somebody still manufacturing that now. That is a fantastic product. And the trike is now got a wider track width on the front to compensate for that instability issue I mentioned.
Okay, and does that fix that instability?
Pretty much, yeah. I'd have preferred it shorter, but adding the extra, I think they've added an extra 100 mil to the track width. That's pretty good now, yeah.
So we've fairly much completed the highlights now, I think, of all the cars.
Yeah.
So one thing I think you were known for is that you brought these cars to the market, you sold generally quite a lot in a fairly short period of time, and then you sold it on. Was that a sort of business?
I like developing, really. I mean, it's probably not a good business model at all, because obviously you've spent the time and the investment in creating the product, and then instead of milking it, I sort of sold it on while there was still potential for other people to work with it. And it gave me then a little bit of money. Never a fortune, these projects. I never got the money back that I invested, or at least the time, but it enables the industry to grow as well by providing new products for other people to carry on with and push, and more energy. And it enabled me to go and sit in the workshop and have another think of something else that might be popular.
I think that's a great way for you to look at it, that you look around just the whole here, I think there's about a dozen manufacturers inside. At least two of them have got MEV products on their stand.
Yeah, that's nice. It's quite flattering to see, actually, and it's great to know that there's a longevity of the product.
And looking back on all those cars, and I know this is like asking someone to name their favourite child. Say you've got one of each in the Stuart Mills Museum. Has got one of each of every car, and the museum's caught fire. You can only save one car. Which one would you grab?
Well, actually, probably the one I've got in my garage now is an Exocet, but it's got a windscreen on it because I'm quite old, so you don't want to be out in the elements. But it's electric. I did an electric version of it, and I think that's something that we may or may not have to look at in the kit car industry in the future. But I have got a concept I'm working on at the moment. It's very difficult, almost impossible, to get an electric car through the IVA test.
Okay.
You can get a three-wheeler electric vehicle through the MSVA test. So that's where I'm aiming at the moment. And the secret is, and I'll share it with you, I've got a donor which is a Nissan Leaf.
Oh,
so that's a low-cost donor with a great battery pack. It's not a huge battery pack, but we haven't got that much room for a large battery pack anyway. Great engine and controller. Very easy to get around the electronics to drive it in an independent vehicle. So yeah, look out for that one.
So you haven't, despite the fact you'd sold all the original MEV products and MEV name has moved on. You're not quite put the tools down yet. You couldn't quite walk away.
No, it's in the blood. I don't think you can stop doing it.
And from your point of view, if you look back, is there one car that maybe you thought of doing or started to develop that you never saw through quite to fruition, that you regret you never actually brought to the market?
One in my garage now, which is never been completed, but I will do it at one stage. That's electric as well. That's a trike. That's a full-bodied trike with a hatch for the roof. That's a very modern, streamlined, futuristic look, and I really do need to finish that one off.
And are we likely to see MEV version 2.0 come round again, that you can't quite walk away and you bring a new product, one of these products to the market?
I should be here today, really, but I run events now. I do weddings and things at the weekend, so it means I can't get to kit car shows apart from this afternoon. So, yeah, maybe one day.
And what do you think of what's on offer now in the marketplace compared to maybe when you started?
Yeah, it's superb. I mean, the quality of all the products here. I've had a look around at all the various manufacturers. The quality's there. Presentation's great. I think it's moved upwards in leaps and bounds.
I've been around the industry for about 25 years, and I've dipped my toe in at one point and tried to be a manufacturer with somebody else's retired product. But I look round, and I think it's been driven a lot by the customer as well. And I don't know if you agree that the customer nowadays wants everything just to slot together. The amount of builder initiative is
generalised, because we found a lot of customers would like the kit, especially in America, they still sell the Exocet in America. A lot of the American customers want the kit to jump out of the box and put itself together. Whereas in the UK, there's some element of that, but also you've got the people that want to get the basic kit and then add their own little twist to it. They put their own mark on it. They make their own brackets. They make their own number plate mountings and various bits and pieces to customize what is basically a custom car anyway. So I encourage that, rather than say, here's the package, it's perfect, everything fits, 100%. It's like, there's the basic kit. It will work as it comes out of the box, but we've got lots of options here for you to tweak it. And I like that.
And just to finish off, and I'm putting you on the spot here, any funny incidents you've had with customers that have come along and you almost say, I don't know, turn them away, or things where you've just had to put your head in your hands and think, what am I doing?
Far too professional to say. In doing shows, you go to the NEC, for instance, you go to the Classic Car Show, they're not kit car customers. A lot of them are a little bit too honest. When you've got somebody that's put the heart and soul, blood, sweat and tears into a product to offer it, for a member of the public to then come across and then diss it in some way, it's water off a duck's back to me, to be honest. But there was one guy came up and he said, don't like the look of that. So I said, well, don't stop looking at it then. And off you go, because if they don't like it, there's no point in having the conversation.
Very true, very true. Stuart, it's been an absolute joy, a real bonus for me. To walk over and see you there was an opportunity I couldn't miss.
Right.
And hopefully you at home have enjoyed that as well. This has been absolutely fantastic for us. And if you've enjoyed this video, if you could give us a like and maybe even a subscribe, we at the 7 Spot channel would be really appreciative.